There are a few areas that are going to get impacted dramatically, and one of them that my dad and I went through that seemed quite intriguing was with regards to alimony. And Dad, I know you've dug into the book a little bit, and what's happening with alimony?
Well, it's very interesting. First off, let's just say that if you get divorced before the end of this year and you get an alimony settlement, then you can take the alimony deduction off of your tax return, and the person receiving the alimony will pay taxes on the amount they receive. This is one of those things that I don't quite understand. First off, if we go to the book, we see that a little over 600,000 people in the United States report on their 1040 a deduction for paying alimony and a taxable income. Now, the theory seemed to be that the alimony was normally the result of a lot of negotiations, and the person who paid alimony was generally in a higher tax bracket. So therefore, they got, in theory, a bigger tax deduction, and it wasn't made up by the tax being paid by the donee, because the donee, in theory, was in a lower tax bracket. Now, as far as I know, I've never heard it any differently, but when we looked at the book and we went back to what the committee was thinking, I thought this was very intriguing. The House committee decided that alimony and separate maintenance payments are not deductible by the prior spouse. The House bill repeals the code provisions that specify that alimony and separate maintenance payments are included in income. Thus, the intent of the provision is to follow the United States Supreme Court's holding in Gould versus Gould. Now, I know you've all heard about the famous divorce case Gould versus Gould because it happened in 1917. So in 1917, Supreme Court in 245 U.S. 151 said that you couldn't deduct alimony and you didn't have to pay tax on it. Well, along comes the late 40s, and Congress passed a bill and decided that it was an economic thing that should be in the bill. So from about 1946-48, everybody that paid alimony got to deduct it, and everyone that received it had to pay tax on it. Along comes this tax bill, which I totally don't understand. But what really got me was the fact that if you get your divorce this year, it's a deduction. If you get your divorce January 1, 2019 forward, it's not a deduction. But now the rest of the story. If you currently are paying alimony or receiving it, and for one reason or another you go in and want to adjust it up or down, because a lot of times we've seen people who are making a certain amount of money and they start making a lot less and they go in and adjust the alimony down. If you make an adjustment on the alimony after the end of the year and now, then it's not deductible anymore unless, and this is really interesting, unless both sides agree. So a lot of commentators say one concern is that the loss of the deduction will cause alimony payers to negotiate lower payments, and for those that go in for an adjustment, it's going to be a whole new case. It appears to me that almost everybody receiving alimony will want to adjust it up or down because the person paying is going to lose their tax deduction. So I don't understand this one at all, but this is going to affect roughly 600,000 people.